We're here today at the Otisco Shores Conservation Area on the shores of Otisco Lake, and it is an Onondaga County park that was acquired by the Finger Lakes Land Trust and upon which the Land Trust still holds a conservation easement. The Finger Lakes Land Trust is a nonprofit conservation organization that works cooperatively with landowners and local communities to conserve the lands and waters that really define the character of our region. We're primarily supported by more than 4,000 families from across the region. On this particular project, we also have grant funding that's specifically for protecting drinking water supplies like Otisco Lake. Across the region, undeveloped shoreline is probably the rarest land resource we have and the most threatened. Here, there's more than 2,000 feet of undeveloped shoreline, so we prioritize it for protection, both for the health of the lake and also to provide public access to the water. Across the Finger Lakes region, we've been having harmful algal bloom outbreaks, which are a real concern, both for public drinking water and for our region's tourism economy, which is more than $2 billion a year. And what we've seen is over the years, we've crowded our water bodies, our lakes and our streams, where we've built right alongside them. We've pushed farm fields up to the edges. And what this means is, as we get more intense rains from climate change, we're washing more nutrients into the lake. And there are a number of solutions we have to consider, but one of them is simply backing people up from these water bodies and allowing nature to do more of its job in filtering it out. We've already stressed these lakes by doing a lot of building on them, a lot of agriculture, all which is important to our region, but figuring out how can we continue to have that, but let the lake have what it needs. So in this case, it means buying this property, not building more homes here, and then restoring it to filter that runoff.
The main way that the natural vegetation helps is their root systems hold that soil together, and also those root systems create a subterranean ecosystem that does all the filtering and things before that water gets to the lake. So there's both a physical and biological element to how the native plants help clean up the water. This is what's called a conservation easement. So this land stays in private hands with some permanent restrictions in the deed that stipulate, what can be done on the land. And as part of that process, we built in these planting zones. So these planting zones are permanent forest areas, so they're not to be cultivated into the future. What we're doing here helps the health of the soil and the water. Even though in this particular case, they might be losing a little bit of cultivated acreage, it helps the integrity of the farm as a whole.
This is an unusual property in that for generations, it was under one ownership who managed it by mowing, planting shade trees, enhancing ponds and lagoons next to the lake. So in a way, it was like a giant backyard. In acquiring it for conservation though, we want to see better habitat for fish and wildlife and also plant more native trees and shrubs to enhance that habitat while filtering runoff and stabilizing the shoreline. But that does include species that are at the very northern edge of their natural range, as well as the southern, because what we're doing is keeping an eye on climate change and expecting at the end of these trees' lifespan, 100, 200 years from now, it may be favorable to some species that are further south.
As the environment evolves, what you want is the region to evolve. And that's why places like this are so important. We're not preserving it the way it was, which was an open lawn area. What we're doing is we're looking at conserving it as a filter and also look to plant different types of trees to effectively preserve the future of it. What we try to do is establish partnerships with groups like Finger Lakes Land Trust, Onondaga County, DEC, to better influence the watershed and protect, our lake. This acts as a big filter for all the nutrients that might come off the road, off farmland, and filters it before it goes into our lake so that we have adequate drinking water. We're very fortunate to have such a great resource in central New York as the Finger Lakes, which are generally freshwater lakes. I think the main thing we're looking to do is educate. I think there is tremendous interest out there in looking at green space areas. They're becoming more limited access. Places like this make the green space available to people. but also you want people to come and enjoy it while not doing damage because they're here. And so what can people do to help us out? And that is look to conserve water, fix dripping faucets. The more you can conserve locally in and of yourself, the better these places are going to operate.